course, this evening here at the Quorum into LWL's conversation on women in publishing. So, set the tone for us. You are all, at the forefront of the industry. You're the ones who are setting the agenda going forward. How has life really changed for the publishing industry in the last 1 year? It's been an overwhelming year for so many reasons. Post the worst of the pandemic, and now that we're starting to see some signs of recovery coming out of it, what do you feel has been the most significant shift? Himali, let me start with you.
Thank you. I think it has had changes across every segment, actually. I mean, this has been such an unprecedented and such a completely overwhelming sort of event. I mean, we're still optimistically calling it an event. But I think COVID has changed pretty much everything that we do, and publishing has not remained untouched. It's from the way readers buy books to the way readers access books. So, for instance, it's not just print. I would say ebooks. I'd say audio. The way we reach out to readers. So, marketing has shifted entirely online, and these are actually all owing to the circumstance that we are in. So, I would say COVID has had monumental repercussions across every aspect of publishing. It remains to be seen whether some of these are going to be permanent or whether these are just a response to the situation.
Nili, what would you describe the situation as? I mean, there was a time that people were calling it the death knell of the industry, and we were hearing such horrible reports, at the worst of it last year. And then we've got completely opposing reports coming out, after that, talking about how people are reading more than ever. Yes, maybe more online or buying online versus a physical bookstore, but it's suddenly opened up a whole new debate.
Yeah, I think last year was very depressing, and because the change was sudden and new, and we were, we were caught unawares, so we didn't know how to deal with this situation of working from home at such lengths, and our business is such that, I mean, it's a creative business, so we like meeting people, whether we are commissioning or we're doing book events. There's a lot of interaction that happens in person, and I think that is a really, I think, special part about our business. So I think we all missed it a lot. And we decided to move on. I think we all adapted very fast at Penguin, and the team has done fantastically well. So last year, while, the book sales were down for a few months when there was, complete lockdown, and, the stores were shut and our sales got affected. But this year, since January, I've seen the sales picking up. So that's a good sign. We also saw more sales of ebooks and audiobooks in 2020 and even in 2021. So that has actually grown manifold for Penguin. Audiobooks, like more than, 5-6 times growth you've seen in audiobooks, particularly. So those are, I think, changes that we have experienced. But like Himali said, I think it's not only to do with editor, it's also with how we market our books. And just like I mentioned, there are no physical events or book launches that used to happen earlier. So now everything is digital. We're focusing so much on, conversation like these to spread the word about books and new ideas and authors. One thing that I feel that has been a little difficult to do is maybe to launch new voices. So it's been easier to sell and publish and promote brand authors and authors who are already known in the market. And, the retail also is well aware of the track record, and they have already an established leadership base. But with new authors and to launch new voices, I think it's been a little difficult.
Absolutely. And I'm going to circle back to that a little later, because I think a lot of the questions that we are bound to get are from people wanting to write, their story, or are looking to self-publish, perhaps being experts in certain fields and so on and so forth. Priya, how would you describe the process of being hit by the slump and also coming out of it? What were the biggest challenges and learnings according to you?
I mean, I think that the whole world was, in this together. There was no industry that was not affected, and publishing was no different. And as Millie said, I think one of the most difficult things was that publishing is a very collaborative process, not just within the office, but also externally. The kind of books that we do and are known for are illustrated books. They're highly collaborative. You know, you need people sitting across a table and literally like, you know, debating which photograph should go where, the font size, the color, the proofing, etc. So the process of bookmaking itself not only became slightly tedious, but slightly impersonal. Of course, a year and a half into it, we have found our own ways. We've adapted very well. Everybody's on Zoom, and our authors and photographers have also taken to it. The most difficult thing, of course, last year was 3 months of absolutely no revenue.
Wow.
You know, I think you can make all kinds of provisions, and you can make all kinds of plans and think for like rainy days, etc. But those 3 months were very, very difficult, when books were also not deemed essential items and they were just not being delivered. And it took a while for us to get out of it, both sort of mentally and as well as, you know, financially as well. I agree that 2021 has definitely started. It started with a upward cycle of book selling and our revenue coming back. The second wave didn't help. But I would say that, you know, it's still been either steady. It's definitely not gone down in the way that we saw in early 2020. Work from home has become, I mean, in many ways, I would say that we're far more productive than when we were back in the office. Not to say that, you know, we would want to have one or the other, but I think the future is definitely hybrid. I also feel like it also allowed us, you know, our size of company is, I would say, mid-size, and there are many things that we have more ambition sometimes than we have time. But this really allowed us to also prioritize what we wanted to do, and perhaps it would not have been implemented as quickly had life been as, you know, functioning as normal. So I would like to take away from this that, you know, it was a period of reflection. It was a period of also prioritizing and changing the ways that we work, but for the better. At the same time, there are lots of things that I hope that come back, in-person events, book launches, meetings with authors, and also bookshops, the most importantly. You know, people go back to bookshops and start to continue the tradition of browsing and discovering books. And, you know, while online sales, not just of ebooks and audiobooks, but physical books have kind of kept us afloat, and it's been fantastic that at least there has been that channel of distribution and sales. I do hope that, you know, and I know it's been a very tough year for bookshops. We have bookshops as well. So I know as a bookshop owner how difficult it's been. So it's also a time that we as publishers, but also as readers, have to think about when we come out of this, how, you know, how do we support them and find ways to get people to go back to bookshops.
So just to follow up on that, because yes, some, you know, some signature bookstores shut down during this time. And, you know, we read some interesting articles globally, perhaps, on some bookstores that tried to evolve and try out different formats. Is that a realistic or feasible possibility going forward? Do you see the bookstore trying to create more of an experience, draw in customers, you know, for different reasons? Is that something that, you know, as a bookstore owner that you would look at, or you think at this point it's not looking feasible and perhaps online's the way to go for the moment?
No, you know, the thing is about bookstores, it wasn't just the pandemic, but even before that, the more successful bookshops that were thriving had already gone into creating a reason. There was a draw. Apart from books, you know, you were creating an experience.
Yeah.
You were hoping people were coming in, not just by events, but there were so many things, whether it's like the smell of coffee and you have a coffee shop in there, you have a wonderful events, you've got like signed copies, you had to be innovative. And, you know, right, it's been 12 years since we opened CMYK, but I would say that one of the biggest ambitions that we had at that time was that to have a very good roster of events. And we did. We used to have like Pecha Kuchas and talks. We even had music evenings and movie nights and all, because a bookshop is so much more than just going and buying a book and leaving. Right. You know, it's also like building a community, and it's also about creating a space for other like-minded people to come and feel like they're part of a community. So I think that more than ever has to be where bookshops emphasize, because otherwise how do you kind of compete with deep discounts that you get online, the convenience of shopping online, all of that. There has to be something more than just knowing which book you're going to buy and that's why you're going into it. And there's been a lot of really good innovation. There's a lot of people adapting, and I mean, I can think of so many, like, I remember during the lockdown, everybody, and I'm saying this from Delhi because obviously as a consumer, as a book buyer, they were the ones I was looking at. But everyone was trying their best to get books delivered, but also book recommendations and so on. So whatever they could, they were trying to pivot and create that community online. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Himali, let me bring you in as well on this in terms of getting back to the physicality of it. And the one thing that's so tangible, speaking to all of you, is how much you miss that. How do you see things shaping up in terms of the actual physical experience? Even if a bookstore was to open up tomorrow, right now, honestly, sitting in Delhi, everyone does seem to be out, but many people are still concerned or want to know if, spaces are applying certain protocol, which may or may not be easy to do in a retail space. Even when it comes to events, launches, how soon before all of that becomes, a consistent reality?
Well, I think it's hard to say given where we are. But having said that, what I would like to mention is the importance of bookstores. I think while online stores have admirably filled the gap, what really happens is that the very important aspect of, say, discoverability, of being able to go, being able to see new voices, being able to browse a book, that and the sense of community, it's very hard to replicate that online. So I think, sales would also probably demonstrate that while books are selling a lot, it's really the bestsellers and the big names that are selling. It's the new names, like I think Millie also mentioned that the new names actually suffer a bit, and it's all going to be very, very targeted in terms of the noise-making books are going to be sold, but the discoverability is going to be affected. So we do hope that there's going to be a point where we can actually get back to that sense of community and the sense of being able to browse a book.
Got it. So give me a sense, Himali, and then I'll get Millie in on this as well. But in terms of how badly the industry's been hit, I mean, today it's not just about the relevance of books, but it's also books versus, primarily OTT, I would say, in terms of entertainment. Do you see the share decreasing in terms of the overall pie? If we look at, let's say, digital news versus OTT versus even online, books as well as physical books, is the pie shrinking?
Again, I think the pie overall, look, it's going to be different for different publishers as well, because I think the ones who don't have the advantage of a large backlist are going to suffer a bit, because what really is selling online is the books that are really well known. I think given that the fact that books are still selling is great, OTT, so it's interesting. We used to think that OTT is what, we compete with, but when you look at so many big shows, they are actually based on books. So I think that's a very symbiotic relationship. It's just a question of seeing how that actually impacts. It will impact the sales of some books. It may not impact the sales of other books, but I think these are two forms of, if I may say so, entertainment that go hand in hand. So I wouldn't really see that as much as an adversarial relationship as something that supplements how you want to be entertained, especially when you're sitting at home. So, I mean, for instance, right from even in Indian publishing, right from Sacred Games to even regional books are being made into OTT shows. There's this wonderful show I saw called Samantar. So I think, books are selling, but we are definitely going to need physical bookstores to go back to maybe making the pie larger. I wouldn't say it's increased at this point. I'd say it's holding okay. It's holding its own.
Okay, fantastic. Millie, let me get you in on that as well. What is the trend that you see evolving, and how would you break up that pie? You're saying people are still reading physical books. Yes, online had a jump up, or audiobooks had a jump up, but physical is also back in action. How does it evolve going from here? And if I was a new writer and already plenty of challenges ahead in getting published, but would you suggest just going online first?
I think we can never ignore the importance of physical books in Indian publishing. And for me, I think, and we've done this for several years, maybe now more than a decade now in Penguin, that we publish, the ebook and the physical book simultaneously.
Hmm.
So both formats come out together and we launch it together. And there is readership for both. So, for example, ebooks sell very well with, sort of business books and ebooks sell very
Hmm.
well.
Hmm.
These days, we also saw, a rise in the sale of ebooks for lifestyle books, mind, body, spirit, lifestyle. That also picked up. But I would again go back and say that I think we can never ignore physical in India, and it has picked up this year. Like I said, last year was difficult, and I completely agree with Priya. Also, 3-4 months were very difficult in Indian publishing, but this year we have done very well. So, in our experience, both backlist and frontlist is selling. We have regularly had new books topping the charts,
Okay.
and probably we were the only publishers at the beginning having our new books in the
Hmm.
top 100 in Amazon every week, and we've had that consistently. So we've been lucky, I think,
Hmm.
in a way that we chose books very carefully. I think we debated, our sales, marketing, editorial debated, and we chose books for every month very carefully. And I think that has given us the benefit. But I think things will get just better from here. I am a positive person, and I hope that things will get even better. We are really tracking very well with our budgets, and so I'm not really sort of concerned. I think while some chain stores have been affected, we also saw some new bookstores being launched.
Hmm.
So Bahari Sons opened up in Vasant Kunj, I think. The new
Hmm.
store came up. Some independents are doing very well because they have loyal customers. The sales of a children's books has grown several times, So I have a 7-year-old daughter. I've bought so many books because you want to keep them occupied.
Hmm.
And I think parents are buying a lot of books. So that has seen a lot of growth. And like I said, I hope things just get better from here. And we see people buying online. They're buying, I think people are buying more from online. They're buying more physical books from online, but they are buying physical books. I think that is the trend that I've seen.
Okay, so clearly bookstores are not going out of fashion, and
Not
obviously
at all.
everyone is buying these books and going off to the hills or to Goa and, and sitting and reading on holiday. But you know, in terms of the kind of books, and I'm Millie touched upon it. Let me get Himali and Priya also to chime in terms of the future of what's going to sell apart from new and known writers and the difference there, but is it going to be knowledge sharing, mind body wellness, as Millie mentioned, autobiographies? What's in vogue and what's a sustainable trend, Himali?
So, interestingly, another change, I don't know whether that's a change because we launched a suitable agency last year, bang in the middle of the pandemic. But I think what's really been interesting is from the submissions that we get, I think people are writing more than ever. I mean, it's very prolific. People have probably found the time to look at, to either write or complete that manuscript. So we get a lot of submissions across the range. I think what really, coming back to your question in terms of what really is selling, I think like Millie said, self-help, absolutely. Self-help was selling earlier as well, but I think now more than ever, it also responds to a certain need. Children's books are selling well. I think comfort reads, what you call comfort reads, whether it's crime or it's your cozy romance, that sells well. And in terms of trends, it's pretty much also going to be driven by. It's very difficult to categorize a trend because I think it's going to be driven by how much noise, how much publicity a book rakes up. So it's also going to be very individually book driven. But I think these are the categories: self-help, children, comfort, which seem to be doing well. And of course, there's always that big celebrity memoir which comes along and that sells really well.
And how do you choose? How do you select? I mean, apart from the story that catches you, is it also dependent on knowing the author, or the author perhaps having some kind of a positioning, since profile and marketing has become so important today?
It has. So you mean how do we accept submissions at a suitable agency?
Yeah.
We are very selective, and that is by choice. We now represent a list of 15 writers, and that's been over a year. But I think that also helps us because we've also got a very, very high acceptance rate. What we really look for is how compelling the story is. What we look for is how compelling the voice is. In terms of nonfiction, it would be a different set of rules that we look for. But I think at the end of the day, we're not really looking for the known writers necessarily. Half of the books that we are representing are debuts. So while we have the autobiography of Remo Fernandez, we have Anandita Ghosh, who's doing this fantastic literary debut. We've got Aloka Prabhakar, he's written a thriller, which actually Millie's publishing. We've got a range of books across genres. And what we really go for is how compelling we find the book. And because we also come from a background in publishing, we get a sense of what it is that publishers also look for. And really, we're driven by that individual book.
Fantastic. Priya, what about you? What would you look at, and what do you feel is the next generation of authors are looking like?
No, I think Himali is right that, in terms of submissions and the number of submissions that we've received, it's been steady. If not, I would say the numbers have gone up. So clearly people have been productive, or those who had, thought that they would one day sit down and write their novel, that time had come. But, we are selective for many reasons. One is because of our size as well. Secondly, we commission a lot based on what we feel is the market requirement. But I would say that, the most important thing, regardless of anything, is how good the story is and how well it's been told. Everything else is secondary, because you can create the marketing, you can create the marketing hype, you can publish it well, but you must have a good product for you to believe and internally create that kind of enthusiasm and excitement, and then go out and share it with the world with the same kind of enthusiasm. So I would say that, agencies are very welcome, as in like literary agencies, because they help that process. You may have a great idea, you may have a great first draft, but they will help you polish it. Sometimes just because of the lack of time that publishing houses have, perhaps that one spark of a novel may actually not get that kind of acceptance in the first go, because people just don't have that kind of time to say, okay, it's great, but let me work with you. It does happen sometimes, it doesn't happen all the time. So if you're part of like writing workshops, if you've got like peer groups who can help you improve your manuscript, if you're working with an agent who believes in your voice, these are all fantastic ways to find a route to a publisher to get accepted for it. In terms of what we are looking for, I would say that, something as, catastrophic as a pandemic is going to have an impact on the kind of books and the kind of output that people are going to have in terms of, what they're writing about. There are certain genres like mind, body, spirit. I would say even cookbooks. We have some fantastic cookbooks lined up between now and next year. And it's not just about recipe pictures, but also about why we eat what we do, how we eat what we do. Why should we be eating certain vegetables, and how should we be cooking them? What's good for your immunity? What's good for your family? How to cook on a budget? I mean, you name it, like there's something, because that's something we saw a spike in, and it's something we love personally doing at Roli Books as well. So I would say coming 18 months, cookbooks is something. There's also a lot of like trying to make sense of why, in terms of like, why is immunity important at a time like this? Why is it that, something like, there've been so many books on pandemics as well. Also like in the past, how India has dealt with it. So there are a lot of like accessible books on like why things happen. And I think this is also a quest for people to want to educate themselves. And not just a quick article, but something that looks at the pandemic and what's happened in the last 1.5 years from a slightly more macro picture as well. We have a fantastic book by Vandana Shiva coming out at the end of the year, which is about sustainable living, but literally sustainable living that everybody can do small changes on a daily basis, and what that would amount to at the end of the year, so something that breaks it down so it's not so overwhelming, and how everything is interconnected, right? Everything that we're facing and we're talking about. So, and like Millie, honestly, I'm quite positive, because I think that, we've seen that steady growth. While there was a huge slump, there's been a steady growth. There's clearly, an appetite for people wanting to go back to books and so on. You were talking about OTT platforms. I think our biggest problem is the
Yes.
smartphone. It's kind of sapped our attention span. So I know so many people who've gone back consciously to make time to read, whether it's like starting a discipline of reading 25 pages, 30 pages a day, because they actually feel like they're doing something to counter that, addiction to your social media or to your phone, or to just, and we're in front of screens all day. Whether it's like, little children doing school online or we're working online. So maybe that's another reason why, books have given respite and people have gone back to reading. So I think the future is bright.
I'm almost apprehensive to ask you to come and join me on a webinar these days because there is so much screen time,
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Millie, what about the business model? How's that been affected? I mean, both from a publisher standpoint, but also from a writer standpoint, because a lot of our viewers will also be writers and aspiring writers. In terms of, should one look at it when you're writing something just as a passion project until and unless you make it, you become like a bestseller, or is there, scope for this to also be a proper revenue stream for a writer? I mean, how does it work? Have things changed post the pandemic with, margins perhaps being tighter? Share with us a little bit on that.
So I think unlike in the West, it's still difficult in India to live off publishing. I think for most writers, it has not been easy. There are very few, I think we can count them, on our fingers. So there are very few who can actually live off publishing completely and quit their day jobs. Most writers have, another thing to fall back on, another profession and income to fall back on. But I would say that, whatever you do, you should do it very seriously and, give your best. So if you actually want to become a writer, you should be ambitious about it. You should give your best and you should actually try your best. Best with the first book itself. So your first book why not? Your first book should also be a bestseller, and always sort of aim for the stars to reach, the sky, as they say. So I think that is where we are. And in terms of, I'll just come back and talk a little bit about our list, because Priya was also saying, writers have been really prolific, and we've had so many good submissions. Editors have been very productive, authors have been productive, and I'm really spoiled for choices. So it is a little difficult for me to believe also, but my list for next year is full. I have to remove books from next year because there's no space.
Wow.
My list for 23 is also half or more than half full. So it's going to be very, very difficult, I think, for us to accept submissions unless they are brilliant and something that we all love. And one of the things that I tell my editors now is that bring up a proposal only if you absolutely love it. If you like it, then let's not go there. We have to really now be very selective, which is a good thing. But it also is, I think, a little difficult when you also want to do a lot, and
Of course.
you're spoiled for choices. So,
And you have some exciting releases coming up as well, Millie.
yeah, we've done very well, like I said, touch wood. And we've done well with biographies, autobiographies. We published Suresh Raina's book, Autobiography, Believe, that has been on the bestseller chart since it was launched. Went several reprints actually before the launch. Neena Gupta's autobiography, Sach Kahun To, has done brilliantly. I think a lot of people are upset with us because we cannot accommodate the number of requests for interviews and press, and she's been doing so much, but everybody wants her. And again, I really want to talk a little bit about that book because, she's not, one of the top stars from the industry, but the book is really she's extremely honest in the book, and there was a connection that readers found, with the voice and her natural. I think she's very natural, and the way she speaks, she talks, her challenges, her successes really connected with people, and I'm really stunned myself by the response to the book. So these are two biographies that did very well. But besides those, also we have so many bestsellers this year. We had the new Sadhguru Karma release, which has already sold, I think, maybe 1 lakh or more copies. We
Right.
had, so that's spirituality. We also had business books doing very well. We published Tata Stories, that is rocking the charts. We published, just recently published Ronnie Screwala's new book, Skill It or Kill It, which actually addresses, how we need to sort of upgrade ourselves to be in the job market. And that's been one of the biggest challenges also for people, right? So many people have lost their jobs or have had to, adapt and make changes to survive. So that's also been very timely for us. So there are all kinds of books. I can go on, Abha, because you're asking, if you ask me about the books, I won't stop. There's so much in the pipeline too. So we're quite excited and we've been lucky. But a lot has changed. The way we market our books, particularly, has changed. And I think these changes will stay on for the future.
I mean, I know we've touched upon it, but tell us a little bit more on that as well in terms of the changes, marketing,
Yeah.
also to the extent of how much you feel the author has to be involved and how, where that distinction comes between what the publisher is going to do, what the author needs to also figure out how to do on their own. I mentioned this in a very amateur way because I know a lot of new authors who reach out to someone like me being in media saying, how do we get publicity, and very often I put them on to a PR person, for example. But is there a distinction between what they should expect, how it's usually done?
Yeah, authors are more involved now. I think they're also savvy. I think it's not only about publishing a book and then forgetting about it. So
Yeah.
you can no longer, I feel that, even a Ruskin Bond, I think I open my Facebook and I see a video practically every few days or some post. So even he is on social media and so many others. And they're doing very well with it, So they are able to connect to more people, more readers, and expand their base readership. So it's a good thing. And I think, like I said, during the pandemic, we've had to restructure our marketing completely because everything is digital, and within digital also, the different things. So we have to sort of, for example, let's say there's a book that is coming out, and we think through a lot of things. What are the suitable platforms for it? It's not that you can do the same thing for every book because every book has a different target audience. And coming back to the authors, if the authors are involved, they engage with the readers, it always makes a difference. We always see the book doing much better, selling well, if the author engagement is high and the authors take interest in their books. They want to do, we can plan a lot of things, but in the end, the authors have to make time for it, and
Right.
they also have to do the press and events around the book.
Himali, I liked what you said about the trend on regional as well. We're seeing that again across platforms in terms of media, film, etc. What's the kind of scope you see, whether it's in originals or whether it's in perhaps printing multiple copies in different languages? Is that something that you see growing exponentially now? Would you advise, writers to perhaps, even if either explore writing in different languages or then be open to multiple prints?
I think a writer should write in the language he or she is most comfortable with.
Okay.
To begin with, I think what really, really has changed in the past, maybe actually as recently in the past 10 years, is that there is a lot of focus on translations.
Okay.
So you have a lot. So while every region has its own thriving ecosystem of publishing, whether it's Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati, Malayalam, Bengali, which has such great literature, I think what has also happened is that a lot of these books are now being translated into English.
Okay.
And so that, and if you see even the big awards that have come up locally, whether it's JCB or it's, some of the other awards, they have been looking at and they have been awarding translated books. So I think, that's really interesting and that's really good because this means that you get a flavor of writing from around. It's not just restricted to a certain stream. We ourselves are very happy to look at translations. In fact, we represent K.R. Meera, who's one of the most renowned and acclaimed writers in Malayalam. Her books in English do really well. And hopefully this is something that's just going to increase. So I think absolutely. I think the future is bright for books, both in translations and books in their original languages as well.
I really love what we've taken away from the conversation today, because all three of you, sound so positive, have such an exciting list of writers or books coming out. And even on the physical bookstore, there seems to be anticipation and innovation, as you said, Priya, in terms of what people are doing and how they're reopening. Tell me a little bit about your own personal experiences as well, whether it be in terms of driving your business or coping with the pandemic from home, what you're reading when you're looking forward to stepping out. Just wanted to, get a sense of how it's been for each of you individually. Priya?
I'm laughing because I was possibly one of the most hesitant about this work from home last year. I just couldn't get my head around it. Like, how were we going to produce books and be connected and so on? And 18 months in, I'm like the biggest champion of work from home now, because not only personally have I seen like this work-life balance, in terms of the amount of time that has been freed up by not having to commute and other things that kind of got removed from not having to physically go. But I've also seen that, there are a lot of women in publishing across the publishing industry, especially in the editorial and design departments. And I just feel like, whether we like it or not, so much of the childcare and homemaking and taking care of the home does fall on a woman. And I've just seen that my own colleagues, not only have, and women can multitask. We know that, that's a given. So, I just feel like it's made people happier in terms of just being able to have that flexibility. So going forward, I think that, we will have to create a hybrid of that. But I've also been able to do things out of, instead of when you don't have this pressure of just being in the office from like, say, 9 to 5 or 9 to 6. Time is freed up to do other things. One is that I've read a lot for pleasure this last year and a half. Books that had been on my reading list, and I used to sometimes just get exhausted. Like, how much am I going to read? I'll come back and I'll just, watch a show or something. That's been one of the most welcome changes, that I've actually gone back to reading a lot, and that's been fantastic. And going back to revisit old classics, but also like reading things that are, being published. So reading for pleasure. And also discovering sort of other aspects of interest and so on, that has been good. I would say that, it's been a combination. I had COVID earlier this year, so I also know that it's a terribly scary time for people who, who got sick and so on. But I really hope that we turn a corner, because I think we all need a break, and we need to get back to living life the way that it was meant to be, and, to be out and about and meeting people and so on. But, I would like to just, when I look back at this period, I would like to focus on the learnings that we had as a company and some really good things that have come out of it. And one more thing I wanted to add, that we've actually during the lockdown or during the pandemic, we've hired people. We've had to, people come and go and so on. And one of the biggest things is that it's increased the talent pool. Publishing is centered in Delhi, right? And so you always almost felt that people have to be in Delhi physically. I have a colleague working out of home from Bombay. We have a colleague who's joining us who's in Kerala, and that's fantastic. Look at the talent pool that's kind of increased as well. So another good thing that's come out of this time.
Excellent. Millie, what about you?
Well, like I said, last year was still, a little easy, and I was trying out new things, so I took up gardening. I was, doing new things, maybe baking a lot more, because you're at home. I used to travel a lot and be out on most days, and suddenly, at home. So I did spend a lot of time with my daughter. I think she got lot more mama time than she normally gets. And but the thing, I think, in the end, I think my job, and maybe in publishing too, there's never a lean period. So the work is ongoing. There are pressures. So what I have learned is that little habits go a long way. So you have to make time for little things. and you have to be self-motivated. I think in this environment where we're not meeting our teams, I really miss my authors. I really miss meeting my authors. I really miss meeting my team. I'm a people's person. I sort of thrive on the energy, when we have a team, we have a discussion. I really like all of that. And we're not getting that. So I think self-motivation really became very important for me. And this year, I think, I've started, I'm reading a lot with my daughters. I'm reading children's books as well, a lot of Amar Chitrakatha and besides other books. And we got a puppy this year in January.
Okay.
So Oscar has come home, and he's also sort of really kept us busy and active. But yes, I think the two big takeaways for me would be investing in little habits that go a long way and keeping ourselves self-motivated.
Lovely. And Himali, if we could close with you then.
Sure. It's actually been great fun. I have to say, work has been very, very interesting because while we launched in the middle of the pandemic, and there was this moment when I was thinking, what am I doing? I think the fact that, I've got a great team, we've got a great bunch of colleagues, we have a open submissions policy, which means that we actually go through every submission that's made to us, made to the agency. So it's been a very busy time. But because this agency is a year old, this is what we know. And it's just been, it's just been incredibly busy and actually an incredibly rich time, because we've discovered such wonderful new voices. Like I said, people have been prolific, writers have been prolific. So it's been interesting. It's been very, very interesting. I think what's also, we've learned along the way, we've learned several things along the way. I think what's also interesting and what actually opens up the possibilities for us is the fact that now there are so many other formats that you can think about. So when we represent a writer's interest, we're not just looking at placing the print book in the right publishing house. We are looking at conversations around conversations around audio, conversations around marketing, conversations around languages, conversations around OTT now. So it's incredibly exciting, the whole thing. So yeah, I think it's been very, very super productive for us.
Fantastic. Like I said, it's great to hear the positivity coming through in all that you're saying. And I really hope we do see things coming back into the physical arena very soon. It'll be good to see people back at events and even at festivals, literary festivals, and engaging on some of the fantastic work that's obviously coming out. And as you've all said, coming out even faster now, more than ever before, with people having had the time to write and really sit down to it. So with that, thank you so much, all of you, for joining us today, for taking out the time to do more screen time, and for also I know Priya's joining us from US, and Millie and Himali, both of you, all of you are also so busy. So thanks so much. And I look forward to seeing you all in person soon. I, for one, will be coming to each and every book launch. So I'll be there.
Please do. You're more than welcome. And thank you so much for inviting me. It's been a pleasure and lovely to see you all on screen.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Bye.
हमेशा एक थकान सी रहती है, 4 कदम चलो तो सांस फूल जाती है। बार बार थकान, सांसों का फूलना, ये अनीमिया के लक्षण है। भारत में 2 में से 1 महिला को अनीमिया है, इसलिए आयरन से भरपूर खाना खाइए। मन्ना आई स्ट्रॉन्ग में है आयरन लॉक फॉर्मूला। आयरन, विटामिन सी, B9 एंड B12 का 100% RDA। ये आपके हीमोग्लोबिन लेवल और आयरन अब्जॉर्प्शन बढ़ाता है। विमेन स्ट्रॉन्ग विद मन्ना आई स्ट्रॉन्ग।